Hi Scentsy friends, it's Angie, your independent Scentsy consultant, and today I am doing a special video on why I wax. So, long story. I started purchasing wax in, I want to say 2011, when my good friend from high school, Lisa, started selling Scentsy. I purchased a lot of wax. I really liked Scentsy products. I really like Scentsy warmers. She asked me multiple times over the years if I was interested in becoming a consultant. At the time, I had 3 small kids. I was married. I was living in Mississippi, and I was either working part-time or going to school and working part-time. So I was busy, and it never felt like the right time. And then in 2012, I moved back to Virginia, where my family is from, and where my Scentsy consultant also lived. And we would hang out together, and we would do Scentsy stuff together. And she said, hey, you buy a lot of Scentsy, you might want to consider becoming a consultant. And I didn't. It wasn't the right time. Basically, when I moved back, it was because my oldest daughter had gotten really sick. And we were having a hard time, hi, sweetie, finding good care for her in Mississippi. She had gotten misdiagnosed. They tried to diagnose her with an eating disorder. And the reality was that she had brain cancer. So, so she was diagnosed finally with brain cancer in November of 2014. And she had the good kind. There's no good kind of brain cancer, but she had a kind of cancer that has an 80 to 90% survival rate. So we were on a mission to get her the treatment that she needed and get her feeling better and back to her regular teenage life. So I was still buying Scentsy. I was still using Scentsy products, probably a little less. We were in and out of hospitals. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald House for a while she was getting radiation. So, it really decreased the amount of Scentsy products we were using. Now, after radiation, Sarah was in remission for a little bit. And at that time, she started really purchasing a lot of Scentsy for herself. And her favorite scent was mulberry bush, and she had the pink teapot warmer and the little golden white teacup warmer and in her room. And then I think she had a wall, like a plug-in, like a mini warmer in her room as well. So mulberry bush was her favorite scent, and she would warm. She purchased her own Scentsy buddies. Of course, my dear friend that is my Scentsy consultant, hi Tweetums, also would send her like Scentsy buddies in the hospital and stuff. And that was where we were comfortable. We just were melting wax and we were using wax, but I was not a consultant and not super interested in becoming one. And then in May of 2018, Sarah relapsed. Basically, she went into her neuro-ophthalmologist appointment, and they were looking at her optic nerve because she'd lost her vision in her eye, and they saw a small tumor growing on her optic nerve. And I took her, it's so sweet. So they decided that she needed to have that biopsied. Now, when cancer relapses, it's always a little bit different from like an original tumor. So when she had her biopsy done, we were really hoping that it was going to be a different type of cancer, like a secondary tumor from radiation. Like, she had radiation to her brain and to the area where her optic nerves were. So like we were hoping that it was going to be something different, like a low-grade glioma or something easy and treatable. But when they did the biopsy, it was determined to be a relapse of a pure germinoma, which is the original type of brain cancer that she had had. And it's never good when children with cancer relapse. One of the main issues with that is that there is not a lot of money allocated towards pediatric cancer research. because it is considered rare, I don't think it's rare. It's not rare. I know way too many children who've had cancer, who have cancer, who are fighting cancer, who died of cancer. Like that, it's not that rare. But because it's not as prevalent or as popular as like something like a breast cancer, you know, like everything goes pink in October for breast cancer. Pediatric cancers, not as much. And so they get very, very little funding. And unfortunately, the funding that goes into just general cancer research, like for adults, doesn't really trickle down to kids because kids react differently. If you think about like chemotherapy drugs, they go after fast dividing cells, right? So in adults, you'd see hair loss, you know, maybe there's some issues with the gut. But, you know, adult cells don't, divide that quickly. So, you know, it's kind of limited. In children, a lot of their cells are dividing quickly. They're growing, their bodies are developing, like things are changing. Sorry about my tinkums. Hi, are you being stinky? So their bodies are changing and growing quickly, and it affects how those cancer treatments affect their bodies. So a lot of money in research is like kind of going towards like treating the original cancer, but not that much money has been devoted towards relapsed cancers at this point. I remember that during the process of her getting re-diagnosed with the relapse, that the doctors would come in the room and they'd have sad faces. And there's nothing more discouraging than seeing your doctors come in with sad faces. So she had a long battle and she fought really hard. But they did not have a treatment protocol for her. That's a long story to tell you that there was no treatment plan when she relapsed, and she passed away on Thanksgiving Day 2018. Okay, so before Sarah was diagnosed with her relapse, she was going to hyperbaric oxygen treatments 5 days a week because of the loss of vision in her eye. And one of the places so I work full-time. My ex-husband works full-time. My current wife works full-time. So one of the things that we did was we set up a sign-up genius, and people could sign up to take her to her hyperbaric oxygen treatments. Sarah had like this really amazing personality, and everyone loved her and everyone was her friend. And so she would go ahead and like schedule these great, amazing days for herself. So she would go in at like 10 a.m. and from 10 to 12, she'd get hyperbaric oxygen. And then people would come back and pick her up and they would go out to lunch, and she would plan like these fun days. Sometimes she would go with people while they ran their errands, like, cause that was just who she was. She really liked to hang out. And one of the people that gave her rides was a Scentsy consultant. She lives local to me, and Sarah would go through her Scentsy closet and bring stuff home and not say anything. So, and she was 18. So, you know, it was like, yeah, you do you, girl. Like, you're hanging out with your friends, like you're getting these treatments. Like, she was really happy. You know, I think that sometimes it was boring. She had like some pretty severe vision loss. And so she couldn't, like, you know, they play movies for you while you're in there, but she couldn't see the movie. Anyway, so she would bring home Scentsy products. And one of the things that she brought home was a Stella the Unicorn warmer, because my wife and I were doing IVF. Obviously, we were successful. This is the second one that we had together, and she hid it in her closet. And after she passed away, I found it. So yeah, Sarah loved Scentsy. While she was in treatment the second time, from May till November, during those 6 months, my life and my thoughts and my hopes and dreams and my whole world was wrapped up in getting Sarah better, getting Sarah through this. The treatments that she was getting were really harsh. She got high-dose chemotherapy that has it's not survivable without a stem cell transplant. So then she had a stem cell transplant after, having her own, these were her own stem cells that were harvested from her own body. So she went through all of that. And meanwhile, I was just completely focused on her needs, helping her heal, getting her through this. Then the last 10 and a half weeks of her life, she was in the hospital on life support. Again, totally focused on her. When Sarah died, I didn't know what to do with myself. I planned her funeral. I figured out going back to work. And then I was like kind of at a loss. Like, what do I do? So I just kind of plodded through. So she died November 22nd. Her funeral, I think, was December 3rd. I went back to work January 1st. May 1st of 2019. So just a couple months after she died, 5 months and like a week or something, I saw that my friend had posted that Scentsy was doing a signing bonus and that I could join Scentsy for $20. So I did. I was like, I feel like this is what I should do. I'd gone in Sarah's room and I had found, like, we had been going through her things and like trying to organize it and stuff, and I had found like all of these Scentsy items that she had gotten, and I just felt like it was a thing to do. I'd also been throwing around the idea of starting a nonprofit, and one of the ways in which I wanted to fund that nonprofit was through an alternate source of income. So having a source of income that wasn't from my job, where that money was kind of stretched thin already, seemed like a great idea. So I signed up. I signed up for $20, and I have used my Scentsy income to send gifts to kids with cancer. I run a nonprofit called Sarah's Acts of Kindness. You can find us on social media. You can find us on the internet, sarahskindness.org. But I run this nonprofit in Sarah's honor and in her memory. And we have a Sarah Willis research initiative at Children's National Hospital that raises money for pediatric brain cancer research in the hopes of saving children like Sarah. It is devastating to me that 4.5 years after she died, I am all over social media and childhood cancer pages, and these kids are still just dying. Like, it's unfathomable to me that it hasn't gotten any better, at least not from what I see, right? I don't know what the statistics are, but I do know what I see, and that's kids dying every day, just dying. So that's devastating because, I would wish that it had gotten better. But we do toy drives. We deliver toys to our hospital for kids, all sick kids, really. We don't discriminate. It's not just kids with cancer. Our research funding is specific to cancer, but our toy drives are not. We have really amazing relationships with the research team at Children's National. We've gotten to meet researchers. We've gotten to see labs. We actually got invited to dinner at the Her Excellency, the Ambassador to Britain in DC. We went to her home and we met a bunch of researchers there. Really, really amazing opportunity. But yeah, it's because of wax, which sounds weird. So basically, if somebody donates to Sarah's Acts of Kindness online, or your kid has a lemonade stand and sends me the proceeds, or we host a bingo night, or we host a fundraiser, that money goes to the research initiative, 100%. And, a little bit for like hosting the website and stuff, but nobody draws a salary. It's very minimal. Everything else is very minimal. However, if I send a gift to a child with cancer, if I do a buddy drive, those all go, of course, to children with cancer. Like anything that is extra, that's not research based, is from Scentsy. It's part of my wax journey. And it means the world to me that this is part of my wax journey. So I guess mine is a little bit longer. I feel like mine is a little bit long. But I think that it's important because it's not just wax and warmers. Although my house does smell amazing, my laundry smells amazing, I love counter clean, like I love my Scentsy products, like don't get me wrong, I am my best customer for sure. I was always a good customer, I still am a good customer. But for me, Scentsy is so much more. I send gifts to families who are struggling. I helped a family get a therapy dog with Scentsy funds. I send children presents. I, make a difference in the lives of families going through just the hardest thing they will ever face. There is nothing like facing your child's mortality. There is nothing worse than facing the odds of your child survival, or having to even research that. Like the first thing you do is research prognosis. That's the first thing you do. And so here are these people that a lot of them can't work because these kids have appointments all the time. Somebody has to take them to the doctor, or I worked crazy hours to try to make it work. Like if Sarah had an appointment on a Friday, I would work the weekend to get overtime hours that I could use to comp my time on a Friday. And then I would work from 6 a.m. to 2:30 every day just so that I could, get to her appointments or, get to her things. Like I would literally just add an extra hour onto my work day. And then after I got off work, I had to rush to get her off a handicapped bus because they wouldn't wait for me. And they have other kids to take, other places to go. They wouldn't wait for me, and they would get really annoyed if I was even a minute or two late. So it was really insane. This is a hard road. It's a hard road to make it work. It's a hard road to get through. And kids deserve better than that. So anyway, that is why I wax. I wax to help others. And I do so through Sarah's Acts of Kindness. And, it's one of my great joys, and I love it. And I get to take care of these sweet babies. I do have a full-time job. This is not my full-time job. I want to clarify that. I do have a full-time job, plus I run a nonprofit, plus I run a Scentsy business, plus I have 5 children, plus I have pets and chickens, and I garden. So I have a lot going on. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, here we are, and I'm doing it. Step by step, day by day, plodding through. I don't get any sleep. I hardly have time to do anything, but here we are, working it out. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.